Hi everyone, so this is the Segway Ninebot kick scooter E25A. So I upgrade this from the E22 that I had earlier. I also had the extra battery, but I returned everything because I kinda like this better after I did a few more research. So anyway, this one is a very rare model, at least in the US. Not a lot of people or not a lot of stores sell them, and there's not a lot of reviews online. So anyway, this is a similar e-scooter as the E22, so I'm not gonna tell you too much for this one because for that one you can watch my E22 review because this one and that one is kind of similar, not exactly the same. So in this video I'm going to tell you the main difference between these and the E22 and also the E45 and maybe the OES series and also the Ninebot Max. So anyway, let's get started. So the main difference between this and the E22 is of course it has a suspension on the front. So from this angle, they look very similar. But the most obvious thing is you see the yellow sticker or the reflective thing. The E22 is red. But anyway, that's just a minor thing. So as you can see, this is yellow. The E22 is red. But the first main difference is the this kind of like a suspension, but this is not a nothing too fancy. It's just a um, yeah, a minor suspension and is not that great, I have to say. Um, it's like a probably even below average, as you can see, is nothing major. It helps a little bit for sure. It improves the ride a little bit, but the thing is when you hit something that's major, like a big pothole or something, it will have a very loud sound, like a bang, or I'm not sure how to mention that, but it has a very loud sound if you hit a big pothole or something major. So it's very loud, but definitely helps smoothen the ride a little bit. So it depends if this is again, just like not a very good suspension, but better than nothing. And it has a very loud sound when you hit something big. But the E22 doesn't have it, so it has slightly worse ride. But again, for the E22, you don't have that loud sound because it doesn't have this suspension. I think the same, kind of similar to the ES series, the ES1, ES2, ES3, ES4. It looks slightly different, but it's just basically the same thing. I think that one also suffered the loud sound. Anyway, it's up to you, but I picked that because you know, as long as you can bear that loud sound, it's slightly better than an E22. And then the second main difference is this one has the rear magnetic brake. So as you can see here, so this scooter has three brakes. The of course the magnetic brake, the foot brake here, and also the electric brake over here. So three different brakes. The E22 only has two, the electric brake and the rear brake, but doesn't have the magnetic brake, just like the ES series. This one and the E45 is also almost the same thing. The E45 also has this, most of the features. I'll tell you later what's the difference between this and the E45. But anyway, the third difference is that this one has ambient lighting and the bottom. I mean, I cannot show you right now. But basically you can watch some videos online, they show you that. So the E22 doesn't have that. Not sure about the ES series. I think a few of them have the ambient lighting, but not all of them. Of course, the Ninebot Max doesn't have that as well. And the Ninebot Max doesn't have the front suspension. But I think the ES series has the rear suspension, but it's not that good, I think. I heard, but this one doesn't have any rear suspension. But the E22 doesn't have any suspension. Same for the Ninebot Max, doesn't have any suspension. So just keep that in mind. And then let's see. So this one compared to the E22, it has a slightly longer board, like 5 centimeters or like 2 inches longer. So if I think most people would prefer a longer board unless you're a small person. But they downside for a longer board is, it's heavier. I guess that's the only thing. But the handlebar, I think, could be slightly longer because if the board is longer, the handlebar has to be slightly longer as well. I don't know the exact dimension. So this overall is a slightly bigger scooter than the E22. If you want something small, then E22 is the smallest kick scooter available from Ninebot, besides the Air thing, but that's not practical at all. But again, most people cannot tell the difference only by this yellow sticker over here. And then let's see, and this one has a slightly bigger battery than the E22, and that's the main. Most people didn't mention that. This one again, max speed 17.4 miles per hour or 28 kilometers per hour, max range 15.5 miles or 25 kilometers. And again, the E25, the 25 here stands for the range. So 25 kilometers range, that's why it's called E25. The E22 has 22 kilometers of range, and the E45 has 45 kilometers of range. That's what it stands for. But the main difference is, why is there an A or E or something like that? I think anything ends with an E is probably a European model. So E25E or E45E or E22E, I think that means it's a European model. So A here means, I think it means advanced or something, because this is the advanced or upgrade model compared to all other E25 models. So they have the E25D. D probably stands for Germany, I'm not too sure. E is Europe, and then they have the international E25 and also the E25A. E25A is the best one because it has a slightly higher top speed of 17.4 miles per hour. The other model has slower, the other E25 models has slightly lower speed. But of course, you can also use and always use an aftermarket app to flash it and get more speed. But the range of all the E25 are the same, with 25 kilometers per hour. I mean 25 kilometers or 15.5 miles. This one has the new 9-inch dual density tire. So this is basically a solid plus foam tire. So that is an upgrade from the previous ES series 8-inch solid tire. That one is completely solid. This one is solid plus foam, so two materials combined, and this is 1 inch larger. So this is, I believe this should be a big improvement in terms of ride quality, but still some people say it's still not as good as pneumatic tires that has air in it. Especially the Ninebot Max has the 10-inch even bigger tire. So something to consider. For a new beginner, I would recommend using solid tire, or at least this kind of tire, because it's completely flat free. But of course, if you're an experienced non-beginner, then maybe pneumatic tires is better for you, because for beginner, everything is new to you. You don't want to encounter flat so quickly, when you're still learning to ride this thing. But of course, also depends on where, your location. If your location has a lot of nails or glass, then, probably solid tire is better. Otherwise, maybe air tire is better. And then max slope is rated at 15%. It varies, I guess. And then again, like I said, triple braking system, front electric, rear electromagnetical, and the rear fender foot brakes. And then it has front and rear LED lights and quick folding system and IPX4 water resistance. Again, this is the front LED light over here. Not sure what that is. Maybe it's just a reflector. There's a rear light as well. So same as the E45 and E22. The ES series, I think I heard it doesn't have a rear light. But anyway, and this one has the zero start function, so you can start from 0 miles per hour. I think the Ninebot Max, you have to kick it, so that's another difference. But that's all the difference between these and the E22. Again, the E22 doesn't have the ambient light. Same as the Ninebot Max. So lastly, what's the difference of this between this and the E45? So it looks exactly identical, and except that the E45 has an extra battery over here. So again, most people would say that, but actually that's not everything. So the E45 has a this is not the E45 minus the battery, although it's kind of like that, but not exactly. This one, I believe, the internal battery is rated at I think, I'm not too sure, but maybe around 215 watt hours. The E45 minus the external battery is rated at 187, something like that. So that's why they are not identical. So if you remove the external battery of the E45, is not the same as this one, even though they look exactly the same. But of course, the E45, if you try to remove that, is not recommended. But if you remove that, I think it will still work. But again, it doesn't come with these cover over here, so you're running with a risk of water or dust getting into this compartment over here. Because when you have the extra battery, this will be covered by the external battery. But the E45, if you take that out, it doesn't come with this cover. So it's not recommended if you take out the E45 battery. But again, if you take off that battery from the E45, it's not the same as this one. This one has a slightly larger battery than everything else. So the E22 also has a 187 watt hour battery internal, and if you add the external one, it will basically the same as like the E45 as far as range is concerned and the battery size concerned. But again, other than that, E45 is exactly the same as this one. It has the front suspension, it has the yellow sticker, same dimension, everything the same. It has the magnetic brake. So everything the same, looks exactly the same, except the battery. The internal battery is different capacity. So the one that everyone got, at least in the US, is the black one. I think is something H1. This one used to U1, so it's different. And it's very hard to get. I don't think they even sell it in the US. So you might be out of luck, but this one, the H1, the black one would still work for this one, but you only get the extra range. You won't get the extra power boost or extra acceleration. So just keep that in mind, unless you can get the U1 somehow. And then let's see. So yeah, you can get the black H1 battery, but you only get the range. You don't get the extra acceleration unless you get the U1. The U1 is actually gray in color. The battery is different color. The regular one, the one that every model uses, is the black H1. So that one is compatible for all models. I mean, it also compatible with this one. You just get the same. You just get the extra range for the ES series and the E22. You get both extra range and the extra acceleration as well. So just keep that in mind. So this is the only e-scooter that has the 215 watt hour internal battery. Every other model has the 187, including the E45. But the E45 is an external battery built in. I mean, kind of included already. So 187 plus 187. This one is 215. So if you get the U1, this will have 215 plus 215. So theoretically, if you get the U1 battery for this one, I mean, even though the official figure are the same as the E45, but I think, theoretically, this could be an even greater scooter than the E45 if you get the U1 battery, because it will have 215 plus 215, but the E45 is only 187 plus 187. But the official figure are the same. You still get the same range and speed as the E45, even if you get the U1. So I don't know. I don't have that battery to test it out. So anyway, those are the main difference. I mean, the ride quality is kind of good. I never ride the Ninebot Max, so I cannot compare those two. But as long as you're riding on the road, not many potholes, I think solid tires is the way to go. But that's just my opinion, because I think it doesn't matter how careful you are, you eventually you're gonna have flat. You can, you cannot avoid that. So but changing a flat is, if you're a beginner especially, it's a big hassle. So solid tire, especially this one, is not too bad. The 9-inch one, solid plus foam, is not too bad. And then but yeah, the only downside for this model is it's hard to get the U1 battery. You can always get the H1, you just don't get the extra acceleration. So anyway, if you want to know more detail, you can watch my E22 review, because everything else is the same. The app, everything, the control are basically all the same. It does not come with the seat. The seat you have to buy it yourself. The E22 come with the seat. But the seat, it says it costs $120, of course. I don't think anyone's selling that for that price. Amazon, I think, is $70, which is, I think is okay. Some place sell it for 80 or $90, but $70 is what Amazon is selling. So this model, I get it mainly for the, I picked this over the E22 because of the front suspension, and it has the rear magnetic brake, because it just, it brakes better than just the E22 with only the electric brake, especially going downhill. And I forget one more thing is that this one doesn't seem to have a speed limiter if when you're going downhill. So even though, yes, of course, on a flat surface it has a max speed of around 70.4 miles per hour. However, if you're going downhill, it doesn't seem to have a max speed limit. But the E22 has it. The E22, even going downhill, it will have a speed limit. So the scooter kind of control its speed at around 90 miles per hour. So on the E22, the maximum speed I can ever go is 19 miles per hour, even going downhill, even a steep downhill, 19, it will hold the scooter at 90 miles per hour. It won't go faster than that. But however, this one won't. It just keep going faster and faster and faster, even reaching like 24 miles per hour. But I have to brake because otherwise it's too dangerous. But it looks like it doesn't have a speed limiter. So this is something to keep in mind. So anyway, thanks for watching and have a nice day.